we were discussing about that, like multipolar world. So where exactly at the multiple poles the power is actually located? So power hai kahan? So there was I told you one thing about the formation of European Union. So what was the reason why European Union was formed? So the reason was that basically in the Second World War, what happened? A lot of destruction happened. Alright. So to avoid any such destruction in future, the thing that was done by majorly the role played by USA was to basically integrate all the economies of Europe. So that if the major integration thing will happen, dependent on each other. My voice.
Sir, your voice is not connected.
क्या दिक्कत हो रही है यार 2 दिन से तू भी अरे आ जा कैमरे में कहीं तू जो है कुछ नहीं हो रहा अभी भी चल रहा है ऑडियो में तो भाई So now is it audible properly? Rasha? Okay, all right. So it was basically you are trying to speak on mic. I think mic. Arun. Now speak.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I am. So yeah. So here the European Union was basically formed to avoid any such type of disaster. Okay. Because when we are interdependent on each other in terms of our economies, there are very less chances that we will go on war. All right. So here what happened? So European countries basically started the process of integration. Marshall Plan came. So it was the US financial aid to basically revive the economies of Europe. Okay. Then OEEC was formed in 1948, which was basically channeled by the Marshall Plan. Then NATO was created, and then Council of Europe came into being in 1949. All right. What was the process of the European integration? So it was a gradual process. In 1957, European Economic Community was formed. Then a political dimension was added to it. That was the European Parliament. And after that, when the Soviet bloc collapsed, so that basically accelerated the integration of the European economies. So by the Maastricht Treaty in 1992, बुला रहा था वो स्पीकर नहीं कनेक्टेड था अब हो गया जस्ट अ सेकंड is not proper now, then please do write a message. Don't ignore that. Okay, don't try to bear with it. Okay, just tell me. All right. So by the Maastricht Treaty in 1992, finally the European Union was established. Okay, it introduced a common foreign policy for the entire European countries, the entire Europe. All right, for all the countries. A security policy was also common. A single currency, that was the euro currency, was basically adopted, and the cooperation of justice and home affairs started there. All right. So what was the nature and features of the EU? So it basically evolved from a purely economic union to a political entity. Okay, it was earlier a economic union, but now after the Maastricht Treaty, it converted into a political entity. All right. So it has symbol of statehood. Okay, it has the same flag, anthem, founding date, currency, and there are several attempts to basically adopt a formal constitution also, but it failed. So the constitution is not one for the entire European countries, but yes, the EU. So EU has basically other things that are in common. All right. So after the collapse of Soviet Union, the many other countries also basically became the part of EU, and EU basically expanded. All right. So what is the economic power of entire combined EU countries? So it has a GDP of $19.35 trillion. That is the data of 2024, and it is basically a very large economy. It is a bigger challenge to the US dollar. Okay, in the world trade also, EU shares it enjoys a larger share. All right, and it has very strong influence in WTO, global trade negotiations, and also it has a very strong influence in the neighboring region, that is Asia and Africa. All right. So talking about the political and the diplomatic influence, so France, which is a part of EU, has one permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council. Many of the states of EU are basically the non-permanent members of United Nations Security Council. EU has a global influence, influence on the global policies of the world. Okay, it prefers diplomacy, economic incentives, and negotiations over any use of military force from now onwards after its formation. And basically, they are very much engaging with China on human rights and environmental issues. All right. So its military strength is that it is the second largest economy globally. Okay, its defense expenditure is just second to United States. It's a very large defense expenditure country region. Okay, France possesses around 335 nuclear warhead, and it's a major contributor to the space and communication technology. All right. So what are the limitations and challenges of EU? So the member state remains independent. So what happens? The member of the EU are basically retaining their independent status, are retaining their sovereignty, still basically following a common foreign and security policy. So that sometimes basically creates internal division. For example, the UK supported US in Iraq war, but France and Germany, who are the member of EU, they opposed it. All right. Euroscepticism in several countries is there. UK, for example, after the Brexit, the Britain stayed out of it, it exited out of EU. All right. So, because there are allegations from one country to another country in EU itself that our market is being captured by the people coming from another country. Okay, so such type of allegations are there, and due to those allegations, there is a basically Euroscepticism inside the members of the EU. All right, so uh, there is ASEAN. So ASEAN is basically Association of Southeast Asian Nations. All right, it has 10 members: Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, Brunei, and Lao PDR. All right. So the background behind the formation is that during the like before, so so in this region, all these 10 countries, we can see one thing very common, that these all countries faced the colonial exploitation before the Second World War. After the Second World War, when the decolonization phase came, and because when they became independent, so at that particular point of time, what they basically wanted was that in the post-colonial time, they did not wanted to again be under the basically influence of any kind of colonial element. So that's why they came together, and they started a fight against any ill practice that was there due to the colonial exploitation. All right. So post-war challenges were basically how to build their nation, how to tackle with poverty, how to tackle with the economic backwardness. And during the Cold War, there was a pressure from both the blocs, US as well as USSR, to join their bloc. All right, just a second. Hello, hello. Yeah. So there was a pressure from US also as well as USSR to join any of the particular bloc. All right. So basically, to avert that influence, to avert that pressure from both of these blocs, so they did not wanted to join any of the either bloc. All right. So they were categorized as Third World Unity. Okay. This was often characterized as Third World Unity, and also called as Asian Unity. All right. So they basically did one Bandung conference where NAM was established. So during this time, during the establishment of NAM, effective regional cooperation wasn't seen. But yes, the result was that here the all those third world countries came together and created ASEAN. Okay. It was established in 1967 by Bangkok Declaration, and the founding members was IMPST. IMPST. Remember this phrase, IMPST. So IMPST. All right. What is IMPST? Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand. Later on, Brunei, Vietnam, Lao PDR, Myanmar and Cambodia, they joined and total number came to 10. All right. So the secretariat of ASEAN is in Jakarta. That was the capital of Indonesia. Okay. So the primary objective is that all these 10 nations have pledged together to accelerate their economic development, social progress, and also cultural development. All right. The another secondary objective of the formation of ASEAN is to maintain regional peace and stability. Okay, to uphold the rule of law, not the rule of any single country or a single person or a single power, but the rule of law. Okay, they basically have pledged to follow and in toto accept the United Nations Charter principles. All right. So, what is ASEAN Way? ASEAN Way is basically a kind of first of all, they do anything with the help of informality. Everything is not very formal, very much formalized. No, it's not like that. It is informal in nature. Whatever is done in ASEAN is done by consensus until and unless every single country is agreeing to that particular policy principle or document. So that will not be accepted without the consensus. All right. The principle is non-confrontationist and cooperation. So they will not confront on any of a particular issue what they have pledged, and they will basically start cooperation. So cooperation will go on without any type of confrontation. This particular thing is called as ASEAN Way. All right. So this is called as ASEAN Way. So they respect the national sovereignty of all those countries. All right. Talking about the expansion of the role of ASEAN, so ASEAN economies are considered to be as ASEAN tigers because they are one of the fastest growing economy globally. Okay. In 2003, ASEAN agreed to form a ASEAN community which has majorly three pillars: ASEAN Security Community, ASEAN Economic Community, ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community. Under the ambit of these communities, they are basically carrying forward the ideals of development. All right. So there is security cooperation also. What is the security cooperation there? So security cooperation is basically non-escalation. That means on any territorial dispute, they will not escalate any matter. All right. They will uphold peace, neutrality, and non-interference with regards to the matters of every single country. They will respect the sovereignty of all the states. No single state will consider the another state as inferior or superior. All right. So every state here in ASEAN are equal. Okay. One is this is the political dimension to ASEAN. This is political in nature. All right. So the political dimension to ASEAN is ARF, ASEAN Regional Forum. It was established in 1994. They basically coordinate the security and foreign policy of all those countries, and the major multilateral dialogue platform is in Asia. So this ARF is a multilateral dialogue platform in Asia. All right. What is the economic role of ASEAN? So ASEAN primarily remains primarily a economic organization. Yes, we do accept that ARF is a political dimension to ASEAN, but majorly it's an economic body. Though the countries are very small, but still the growth rate is very high in ASEAN. The goal is basically to create a common market and a production base of ASEAN. All right. They want free movement of goods, services, investment, and labor throughout all these countries in ASEAN. And they want to strengthen the dispute settlement mechanism. Whatsoever be the dispute within these countries, they want to settle those disputes amicably. All right. They have adopted a Vision 2020. It's a outward looking and a globally engaged policy of ASEAN where they actively promote dialogue over conflict. Okay. So they played a major mediation role in Cambodian conflict and East Timor crisis. During this time, these disputes were settled by the cooperation of ASEAN only. ASEAN every year holds the annual meeting on East Asian cooperation, and only Asian regional organization provides a political security forum involving the major powers. They involve the major power but still maintain their credentials. How is the relation of India with ASEAN countries? So during the Cold War era, India's foreign policy did not had any major focus or emphasis on ASEAN countries, but after 1990, India strengthened its engagement with ASEAN countries. We have trade agreement with Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and ASEAN India Free Trade Agreement was signed in 2010. ASEAN is our key trade partner and investment partner. Okay, so for India and China, both of these countries have a major interest in ASEAN countries for the development of their trade. All right. Now coming on to the rise of Chinese economy, how this Chinese economy rose. Okay, so there was a revolution that happened, the communist revolution in 1949. So almost we both of these countries gained their present credential almost at the same timeline. Okay, in 1947 we became independent, and in 1949 the revolution happened in China. All right. So since 1978 until 1978, the system was very different in China, but since 1978, China had emerged as a fastest growing major economy in the world. Okay. And even it is projected that by 2040, the Chinese economy is going to overtake the US economy. All right. So, what is majorly the engine of growth? So, China's economy acts as a major engine of East Asian economic growth. Okay. So they have economic strength, combined population, territory, resources, and strategic location enhances the global major power of China. All right. Between this timeline, between 1949 to 1978, there was a Maoist economic model in China. All right. After the communist revolution that I told you happened in 1949, China adopted a Soviet-styled planned economy model. Everything was there under the control of state. Okay, everything was held by the state. Okay, communism was there. Okay, not communism exactly, but socialism was there. In socialism, when the major idea of socialism is 100% realized, it is called as communism. So 100% communist countries nowhere existing in the world at present. So the major feature of the Maoist economic model was basically every heavy industry was in the hand of state only. They did not imported anything, they produced everything. So import substitution was there. They basically profess the policy that they will not be importing anything inside their country, but just what they will be doing is they will produce whatever is required for their economy. The economic self-reliance was their policy, that we will be relying on whatever resources are there in our country, and basically isolation from the capitalist world. They did not had any kind of relation with the capitalist world. Their industrial base was very strong, employment and welfare was ensured, education and health was very good, and the growth rate was 5 to 6%. All right. But still, that rapid population growth became a very big challenge to the Chinese economy. The agricultural surplus was very low. Agriculture was not doing good. Okay. There was minimum trade, foreign trade. Okay. And there was low per capita income in the country. So this was a crisis situation that came in the state planned economy of China. So there came a policy shift in 1970. Okay. In until 1970, since 1949, they did not maintain any kind of yes, yes.
So why did China adopt socialism when it previously witnessed that model failed USSR?
No, the timeline was not that. No? In Soviet, in USSR, this model failed. The failure of this model started in almost 1970. Okay, which basically led to the disintegration of the Soviet Union in 1992, I would say. Okay, so it failed in 1992, but in China, this was adopted. This communist model was adopted in 1949. Okay,
Okay.
and in Russia, this Bolshevik revolution happened in 1917. So after few years after 1917, China also adopted the same model. Okay, the thing was, the difference between both of these countries, USSR or I would say Russia and China, was that in USSR the ultimate result was disintegration, but China changed its communist model, not completely, but to a very large extent in 1970s. That's why China survived. Okay, so in 1972 they started again maintaining their relations with US. All right, they not again I would say, but yes, they now started maintaining their relations with West. Okay, Zhou Enlai was the Chinese premier who gave the model of four modernization. He started a wave of modernization in AISD. What is AISD? Agriculture, industry, science and tech, and defense. All right. So this Zhou Enlai gave the four model of four modernization. He started a wave of modernization, And in 1978, one leader in China came, that was Deng Xiaoping. What Deng Xiaoping did, he started a policy of open door policy and basically started economic reforms. Okay, so this was done by them. What is the nature of Chinese economic reform? So the reform in China was very gradual. Okay, it transited from a state-controlled economy slowly to a market economy. Okay, no shock therapy as like in the case of US was there. There was no shock therapy. Shock therapy was a rapid movement from the state model to the private model. Okay, so any kind of shock therapy was not there. All right, there was a gradual movement from the state controlled economy to the market economy. All right, the key feature was that in 82 agriculture slowly privatized, in 98 industries privatized, a special economic zone was set up, and then selective removal of trade barriers happened in China. So in the market reform, state played a very important role. After this, the agricultural output and rural income rose at a very high speed. In the rural industries grew, high saving grew. Okay, now there was a rapid expansion of the foreign trade. China became the largest destination of FDI. So many foreign direct investments started coming in China. Now they had a very large foreign exchange reserve. They got the seat of World Trade Organization in 2001, and China aimed to shape the future global economic order now. Okay, but the problem is that still there is rising unemployment, poor working condition, environmental degradation, corruption, and growing inequality in rural and urban and coastal and inland area. When you will see the map of China, you can see that most of the population is just there in the coastal areas. Okay, in the inland area, the people are actually suffering. Okay, so it is not like the equitable development in China is not there. All right, what is the regional and global implication of it? So economic interdependence, okay, moderates dispute with US, Japan, ASEAN, and Russia. So China had lot of dispute with these countries, but due to the economic angle, they are not looking towards those conflicts, but are just focusing upon their economic development. All right, now economic integration to address the Taiwan issue. Now they basically so what to say, I don't know, but yes, Taiwan basically claims not to be a complete part of China. So by the economic integration, they want to basically make Taiwan a complete part of China. Okay, so it helped stabilize the ASEAN economies after 1997 ASEAN financial crisis. When this crisis came, China was the biggest helper to ASEAN countries. All right, so it expanded investment and aid in Africa and Latin America, and it projects itself to be a leader of all the developing countries. All right. Now coming on to India-China relation. So India-China relation. So see what happened before imperialism. All right, before the coming of the British rule in India. So because of the Himalayan barriers, we did not had any sort of good relations with China. Yes, some movements was there. Definitely, Buddhism from India only went to China. All right, there was movement of ideas, even movement of good, but large scale cultural intermingling between India and China was not there. That was the main reason why after the revolution of 1949 in China and after India's independence in 1947, both the country found it very difficult to maintain relations because they did not knew how to look at each other, whether to look at each other from the eyes of suspicion or basically to look at each other from the eyes of basically peace, tranquility, and stability. So it was very difficult to basically decide this thing. All right, so yes, China exercised influence through a tributary system. So many rivers from Tibet, Mongolia, Korea, and Indochina. So basically, those rivers then enters to India. All right. Indian kingdom was all extended beyond its borders. Okay, but there were limited interaction and mutual unfamiliarity. China was very much unfamiliar to India, and India was very much unfamiliar to China. Okay, but what happened after independence? Chinese Revolution happened in 1949 and Indian independence happened in 1947. So after that, yes, there was a popular slogan, and the slogan was Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. This slogan was basically raised by the people of both. Okay, Now what happened, now both nations aim to lead the developing world and Asia, all right. But there was a conflict, okay. Chinese takeover of Tibet was a very big conflict in 1950. China, what it did, the Tibet was an autonomous region, it was not a part of China, but China occupied Tibet, okay. When it occupied Tibet, now there was some Sino-Indian border dispute also, okay. The India and China fought a war in 1962, which basically led to the major conflict in Aksai Chin area in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, India suffered a very big military setback during this conflict. What was its impact? We downgraded our relation with China until 1976, and basically border dispute became a very big central issue in our bilateral relations. After 1976, we started normalizing our ties. We became pragmatic. China adopted a pragmatic and non-ideological foreign policy. It is in political science and international relations called as de-hypenization. Okay, we will not look to our border dispute. We will just be focusing on what? We will just be focusing on economic integration. All right, not integration but economic trade. So economic angle will be separate from the political or territorial angle. All right, that is called as de-hypenization. So border talks were initiated in 1981, but after 1976, we adopted a policy of de-hypenization. All right. Now what happened post Cold War era? So after the Cold War ended, so basically the ideological clash between US and USSR ended. Relations acquired a strategic and economic dimension. All right, both countries they project themselves to be a rising global power and aim to shape the Asian and global politics. Okay. In 1988, Rajiv Gandhi visited China. It became a turning point in our relation. They basically agreed to maintain peace and tranquility on the border. They agreed to expand the cultural, scientific, and technological cooperation. And they opened 4 border trade posts with from which we started trading. All right. India China trade grew 30% annually since 1999. Okay, trade increased from just $338 million in 1992 to almost 84 billion in 2017. It's a very big number. All right. We also started cooperation in energy security and WTO and global economic institutions. All right. India tested its nuclear weapon in 1998, and when we were asked about why we tested this nuclear weapon, the reason that Indian government gave that was that we face a major threat from China, and China threat was the reason given by the government in terms of basically the reason behind the conduction of the nuclear test. Okay, Pokhran test. All right. So India's concern was that China supports Pakistani nuclear enrichment program. All right, and China's military tie with Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar is considered to be a threat to India. Okay, it is a threat to India. Okay, despite this tension, no direct conflict has occurred. Okay, direct conflict has not yet occurred. We basically recourse to CDM, that is called as confidence building measures. What we do is we all see what happens, why there is a lack of confidence between the countries. What happens is that there is a lack of confidence when we basically stops communication. So when we start communication, then the things basically becomes resolved. All right, because without communication there is always a mutual suspicion in the mind of all the countries. All right, so that mutual suspicion in turn leads to all the disputes. Okay, so this confidence building measure primarily deals with starting the negotiation, increasing the military cooperation, various frequent high level visits happens, and transportation and communication link between the countries improves. These are called as confidence building measures. All right, so there are recent challenges. Okay, the relations have been deteriorated in the recent years. We have so many border tensions. China Pakistan economic corridor, which is passing from a region called as Karakoram track. Karakoram track is a part of Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, POJK. So basically, POJK is the legal territory of India. From there, this CPAC corridor, which is made by China, is basically passing through. So it is passing through a legal and a technical, integral part of India, which is a very big concern with for us. Okay, China support the Pakistan at UN level on terrorism related issues. That's a very big threat to basically what we perceive. That's a very big threat which we perceive. All right. Now coming on to Japan. So the economic rise after World War II. Now what happened during the World War II? There was a nuclear bombing in Japan. That was Fat Man Little Boy. So that bombing happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which majorly destroyed a very big and a very large part of Japan. Japan almost collapsed after the Second World War, but see the power of Japanese economy. It rose to a largest, I would say, one of the five largest economies of the world. Okay, Japanese economy is a very like high growing developed economy. No, no, not developed. It's developing, but still is counted as a very large economy in the world. All right. So, despite the scarcity of the natural resources, Japan has basically witnessed a rapid development. All right, it imports so much of the raw material and high technology manufacturing happens here. It is home to so many companies which you have also heard: Sony, Panasonic, Canon, Honda, Toyota, Suzuki, Mazda. These are all the companies that are even used in India also, very well known in India, and are owned by the people from Japan. Okay, Japan is the owner of it. It became a member of the Organization of Economic and Cooperation Development, something like that, OECD. It joined OECD in 1964. It became the third largest economy of the world in 2007, and only Asian member which is a part of G7. Okay, the largest economic countries of the world, G7 countries. So it is only Asian country that is a part of G7. All right, and it is 11th most populous country in the world. Okay, talking about political and strategic feature, it is the only country that has ever suffered the nuclear bombing. It is the second largest contributor to the budget of United Nations. Almost 10% of the budget around is contributed in United Nations by Japan. Okay, it has security alliances with United States since 1951, and Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution states that it is renounces war as a sovereign right. It says that, see, every country is considered to be sovereign, but this Article 9 says that waging war against the another state is not a sovereign right of any country. All right, it prohibits the use and threat of force to settle any kind of dispute. All right, it has a very big military capability. But still, despite of having a very big military capability, only 1% of GDP is basically spent by Japan in its military, in enhancing its military capability. Japan has the seventh largest military expenditure globally. Still, it possesses and it possesses the advanced military technology despite constitutional constraints on it. All right, Japan is also seen as a alternative center of power. It's a high economic power country, very large level technological leadership it enjoys, and it has so much of diplomatic influence. The constitutional restriction are there on its military power. That's why its military capabilities are a bit restricted. Okay, its constitution actually doesn't allow it to go beyond a certain level in terms of military. All right. So yes, it is dependent on US security umbrella also, because it's a very small island nation. So US and Japan has basically signed agreements for cooperation. So due to that agreement, basically it is dependent on the US security umbrella. All right. Now talking about South Korea. South Korea, Republic of Korea. What happened? Korean Peninsula was divided into South and North. Basically after the World War II. So between there is a line that is 38th parallel. Okay. Korean War happened in 1950 to 53, which basically intensified the rivalry between North Korea and South Korea, and both the Koreans became UN member in on 7 September 1991. Between 1960 to 1980, there happened a miracle on the Hens River. Okay, a Hens River passes through it. Okay, and it is said that a miracle happened on Hens River. How miracle happened? In 1996, it became a member of OECD. Now, in 2017, it became the 11th largest economy of the world, 10th highest military expenditure globally, and it also ranks only 18. So, as per 2016 HDI index, Human Development Index, it ranks 18th. Okay, that's amazing. What are the factors behind the development of Korea? So it has carried out successful land reforms. Okay, Rural development is high. It has invested a lot in education and human resource. It basically witnessed rapid and equitable economic growth. Okay, it exports a lot. It has strong governance and institutions, and it has public infrastructure developmental indicators are also high there. All right. What about technological and industrial strength? So Samsung, LG, and Hyundai, they are basically there from South Korea. All right, they are very well in robotics, electronics, automobile, shipbuilding, and all. All right. Coming on to South Korea and India, we both shares commercial and cultural ties. We have major agreements on these indicators: defense, culture, technology, trade, investment. So yes. Coming on to contemporary South Asia. All right. So what is South Asia? So India is basically a part of, we just saw about ASEAN, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nation. All right. Now talking about us, this South Asia. So India is a country to South Asia, in South Asia. So here, what are the countries located? That is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. All right, Myanmar is not a part of South Asia. Okay, so the relations between the countries in South Asia is based on mutual suspicion, rivalry, still cooperation. All right, so many things happens here. Now, what are the geographical feature? On the north, there are Himalayas. Here, Indian Ocean. Here, Arabian Sea. Here, Bay of Bengal. So this entire region is a isolated region from the rest of the world. All right, it's a, because here the Himalayas are there, Nepal, Bhutan, okay, Pakistan, India, okay, Bangladesh. So these countries remain isolated because of the natural geographical factor. Okay, so there is a phase of geographical insulation in South Asia. All right. So despite of that a lot of diversity is there within this subcontinent. Okay, it has a size of subcontinent almost. All right. So here political diversity is there. India and Sri Lanka, now not Sri Lanka. Okay, just India because a coup has happened in Sri Lanka. So now India remains to be the most vibrant democracy in entire South Asia. Rest in Pakistan, Bangladesh, here mostly the civilian government is overtaken by the military power. Nepal constitution has abolished monarchy and became a democratic republic in 2008. But you can see the what kind of disturbances are happening in Nepal nowadays. All right. So Bhutan basically transited from a constitutional monarchy to a multi-party democracy in 2008. Okay, Bhutan is going well. Bhutan is doing good. It's a small Himalayan state. But yes, Maldives basically shifted from a sultanate to a republic, adopted a multi-party democracy, and MDP party won the election in 2018. Okay, Maldives. Now, democracy and regional aspiration. See, we can see that several instances are there in case of South Asian countries where the civilian government has been overtaken by the monarchy, by the, I would say, military rule, by dictatorial rule, but yet we can still witness so many protests, and basically the aspiration of people is always in this subcontinent in favor of democracy only, because every state in every country, the people of these countries basically wants their state to be a democratic state. Whether it is a democracy or not, that's a different thing, but yes, definitely aspirations are there in the mind of the people. All right, survey shows that across all the religion, race, caste, gender, okay, people want democracy to be as the most established form of government in their country. All right, military and democracy in Pakistan, it's just a small case of Pakistan. What happened after the first constitution? General Ayub Khan in Pakistan took all the control and basically carried out a coup, turned the democratic government into a monarchical government. All right, this thing basically happened in 1971 in Bangladesh also. Here, the in Pakistan, because that West Pakistan and East Pakistan was a single Pakistan only. Here, the rule was of Yahya Khan, and in time of Yahya Khan, they started discriminating and committing atrocities on the people of East Pakistan. That's why Mujibur Rahman, who basically got support from India during the time of Indira Gandhi, and by which we divided the Pakistan and carved out the East Pakistan and formed Bangladesh. All right. So this happened. Now, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto here led a democratic government. So, but now his government was overturned by again Zia ul Haq in 1977. Pro-democratic protests were there. So restoration of the democratic government happened in 1988 under Benazir Bhutto. But again, the military basically led. Okay, military intervened. There was a clash between the PPP, Pakistan's People's Party, and the Muslim League. Okay, this struggle continued till 1999 when again General Pervez Musharraf overturned the democratically elected government. Okay, and basically brought the country to the military rule. Okay, then again military rule started in Pakistan. All right. There was Musharraf, all right. So Musharraf became the president of Pakistan in 2001. He basically, but he after even after winning gave legitimacy to military rule only, okay, because he was just a puppet ruler. Since 2008, Pakistan has been ruled democratically, but we know the reality what is happening in Pakistan, whether it be the civilian government or the direct military control under Asif Munir, but still the major control remains in the hands of military only. All right. So why there is major weakening of the democratic rule in Pakistan and a strengthening of the military rule in Pakistan? The reason is that in Pakistan actually the
Get
military.
driver alert.
Sorry, sorry. Please speak again, Ashutosh. Ashutosh, you were saying something. Prasha, he was saying something.
Yes, sir. I didn't quite catch what he was saying.
Actually, all of a sudden the voice came. Na? I was a bit shocked. And yes, but now I can't hear him. Again, when you like get the opportunity.
Actually, sir, I was disconnected with voice.
Okay, yeah, tell me. So, what's your question?
Sir, actually, my question was that if China is a communist country, why term it as a democracy?
Sorry, I can't hear you properly. Sorry,
Sir, if China is a communist country, why we term it as a democracy?
who terms it as democracy? Who terms it?
Sir, on paper it is written democracy of China.
Never written democracy of China. It is Republic of China. But yes, on paper they themselves declare themselves to be uh, a democratic republic. But no one calls China democratic. No, no one calls China democratic. They themselves declare it to themselves their constitution to be democratic, but it's not at all democracy. No one calls it democracy. All right, clear?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So, because the military clergy and the land owning elites are very strong in Pakistan, there are very frequent military coups in Pakistan that happens there. And India Pakistan, see, when India Pakistan conflict happens in Pakistan, no, their government brings a narrative, their military brings a narrative that the civilian government is in turn failing to tackle with Indian Pakistan dispute, and then we will have to come forward, and people themselves also support the military there then. Okay, so military justifies its rule by portraying that democracy is very chaotic. Okay, so their military portrays this thing that democracy is not at all successful there, and they want basically to get the military rule there. All right, there are democratic aspirations in the minds of the people of Pakistan. They want a strong pro-democratic sentiment, a government. They want free press and everything, but still they are not getting that. All right, international factors are also there. Okay, so there are no international organization that is genuinely pressing Pakistan for democracy, for adopting democracy. US and the Western countries supports the military regime there in Pakistan for their own interest, and there is also a fear of Islamic terrorism. Okay, concern over Pakistan's nuclear weapon, due to which the West led the West to view military rule as a stabilizing force. Okay, military rule happens by force. Okay, and because the West knows this thing that there are nuclear armament with Pakistan, so they want military rule to be there because military will stabilize the situation in Pakistan. All right, That's why they also want military. Now talking about Bangladesh, between 1947 to 1971, Bangladesh was a part of Pakistan itself, and in the eastern part, the Bengal part and the Assam part was a part of East Pakistan. All right. What happened there? The government of West Pakistan dominated over the people of East Pakistan. They were divided on the religious ground, but now the West Pakistan government termed themselves to be belonging to Punjabi culture, and they termed the people of East Pakistan to be belonging to Bengali culture. They discriminated with them. Okay, they did not. They considered themselves to be as second grade citizens. Okay, protest happened in now Bangladesh and former East Pakistan. There, what happened? Sheikh Mujibur Rahman actually won the election, but still, even after winning the election, he was not given the opportunity to. His Awami League party was not given the opportunity to lead in the assembly. Okay, so West Pakistani leadership refused to transfer the power to them, and Sheikh Mujib was arrested. Then liberation of Pakistan happened under General Yahya Khan. What happened? Pakistani army violently suppressed the Bengali movement happening in East Pakistan. All right, there was large scale violence that happened from the General Yahya Khan government to the people of East Pakistan. Now those people started moving from East Pakistan to India. 10 lakh almost refugees came to Indian Assam and Bengal, and due to which what happened, there was a refugee crisis in India during the time of Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi then waged a war with Pakistan and carved out Bangladesh. All right. So India-Pakistan war happened in December 1971. During this war, 93,000 soldiers they surrendered in front of Indian forces. It was a largest military defeat at the world level that has never ever happened until the date. Okay, it was the largest military defeat. At that time, the government in Bangladesh was secular, democratic, and socialistic. In 1975, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman shifted the system to the presidential system. He then established Awami League, one party rule. Now, Awami League and leader Mujibur Rahman, who was the pro democratic leader, he turned Bangladesh into dictatorship. Okay, he turned Bangladesh into dictatorship. Ultimately, due to the tensions, he was assassinated in August 1975. All right. Now came the rule of Ziaur Rahman. Now Ziaur Rahman became the military ruler. He formed the Bangladesh National Party (BNP) and won the elections in 1979. He was also assassinated. Now after that, Lieutenant General M.H.M. Irshad came. Mass protest happened. Then, after a long period of time, after a popular struggle in 1990, Irshad resigned, and then multi-party elections happened in 1991, where representative democracy established in Bangladesh. All right. So since 1991, it's a multi-party democracy functioning well. Yes, but some crisis happened there also. All right. Talking about the historical background of India and Nepal relations. Okay, so anyhow, we are going to elaborately study these chapters in international relation topic in GS paper 2, but we are just having a overview of these chapters. When you will read this PDF, na, you will get to know about everything. All right. So Nepal traditionally was a Hindu kingdom. It's a small Himalayan country. It had now later on it transitioned into a constitutional monarchy. Okay, so despite having several constitutional arrangements, the real power always remained with the king of Nepal. All right. So political parties were there. They demanded a more open system, but nothing happened. All right. The ultimate power was enjoyed by king only in Nepal. All right. So there happened a democratic movement of 1990. There was a strong pro-democratic movement due to which the king had to basically accept the democratic constitution in 1990. But the democratic constitution was very unstable. The elected government was very unstable. After which a Maoist insurgency happened in Nepal, okay, and a political instability. During 1990, what happened? The Maoists expanded the influence through a armed struggle. The Maoists recourse to a guerrilla warfare and against the royal forces. there happened a triangular conflict in Nepal between monarchy, democratic parties, and the Maoist people. This was the triangular conflict that happened. All right. In 2002, there happened a royal takeover. In 2002, what happened? The king abolished the parliament and dismissed the government. Now, in 2006, a popular protest started in Nepal. By this popular protest, this was a pro-democratic protest which was led by SPA, Seven Party Alliance, okay, including the Maoist, including various civil societies. Ultimately, by the protest of 2006, the king was forced to restore the House of Representative, which was a house of parliament. So after this three, SPA, Seven Party Alliance, Maoist, and civil society pro-democratic movement in 2006, ultimately the king restored the power to the parliament. All right. Now it transitioned to parliamentary democracy. A constituent assembly formed there, drafted a new constitution. So many debates happened there. Ultimately, in 2008, the monarchy was abolished in Nepal, and Nepal became a democratic republic. It adopted a new constitution in 2015 and basically completing the democratic transition. All right. This Sri Lanka conflict, we have already studied this Sri Lanka conflict in the chapter that is power sharing. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Have you studied that chapter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So, Ashutosh, where lost, sir? So Sri Lanka
नो
retained its
यार सर एक्चुअली टाइम लग रहा था
कितना टाइम लग रहा था हैं? बहुत टाइम लग रहा था। कोई बात नहीं, टाइम लगाओ पर पढ़ जरूर लेना, ठीक है?
ओके सर
Okay. So Sri Lanka retained its democracy since its independence in 1948, but there were some challenges. Okay, there was a Sinhala Tamil divide. We already know about this divide, why this happened. Now the Tamil grievances was neglected by the by the Sinhalas there. So the Tamilians recourse to the nationalist movement there. All right, they in 1983 they formed LTT, Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam, which demanded a Tamil Elam. Okay, so at one point, LTT controlled the entire northeast Sri Lanka. But what happened? Tamil issue came to India. India and Sri Lanka signed an agreement that was here. It is not written, but that was Rajiv Jayavardhane Pact. Okay, so Rajiv Jayavardhane Pact, by which in 1987 Indian government sent its Indian peacekeeping forces there to fight with LTTE. Okay, so IPKF withdrew in 1989 without achieving any objective.
सर दिस इज शो Sir, this whole story is shown in a movie called D-Day, launched in 2015.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't watch movies. I really don't have any idea. It might be true. Okay. So, like in 1989, the IPKF returned back to India. Okay. After which the civil war, but still continued with intermittent violence. All right. Still there is basically the conflict ended, but still there are some repercussions to that. Okay, despite such a long term civil war, still the Sri Lanka had democratic political system. It achieved very high economic growth. It records greater human development indicators. It's up high on that. okay, and was among one of the first region to control the population growth. All right, it liberalized its economy also. It maintained high per capita GDP also. So it's good moreover. All right. Now talking about India-Pakistan conflict. Okay. So India-Pakistan conflict basically post the Cold War period. This conflict in South Asia has not ended. Okay. So most regional international conflict involves India because it has a large size and due to its geographical position. All right. So India-Pakistan conflict is the most significant conflict. There is a Kashmir issue. Okay, but still the Kashmir issue has failed to be resolved. We fought several wars, but still there are disputes over Siachen Glacier, arms acquisition. Okay, arms race has already been intensified after 1990. Both the countries acquired nuclear weapon during almost the same time. India conducted its nuclear test in Pokhran. It was in the month of March. But and just after 20 days, the Pakistan government of Pakistan conducted their nuclear test in Chagai Hills. Okay, so nuclearization is a very big threat to the both the relations. Okay, India accuses Pakistan for supporting the Kashmiri militants there, and here the Pakistan basically supports the Khalistani militancy in India. It basically supports the illegal activities going on in the northeastern region of India. So these things basically happens. Pakistan accuses that India destabilizes their Sindh and Balochistan region. Okay, so these things basically happens. There is a water dispute also. So Indus Water Treaty has already been signed, which was brokered by World Bank in 1960. Despite of these conflict, this treaty terms of treaty was being respected, but during like this recent conflict, so this terms of treaty was not respected by India only. All right, so we did a very right, we rightly did this thing, because what happens here, Chenab, Jhelum, Satluj, Byas, Ravi, Indus, these are the rivers out of which Chenab, Jhelum and India go. Indus, the water of CGI goes to their rest India, and 90% or more than 80% of the water goes to Pakistan only. We are the upper riparian state. Still, we signed this treaty to benefit the people of Pakistan, but this is not recognized by the government of Pakistan, and they basically wish they always create some conflicting situation in India. All right, so that's why it's not at all good to respect the terms of this treaty. All right, so that's why government of India recently abridged the terms of this treaty. All right, so this thing happened. Other issues are also there. There is a region called as Sir Creek in Run of Kutch. Okay, Sir Creek is basically a region which during most of the time in the year it gets flooded up, and after that flooding, when the flooding goes off, it becomes the land only. Okay, that's Sir Creek area. So India claims ownership of it, and we have military presence there. All right, BSF is guarding that area, but Pakistan claims it to be its own territory. All right. Current status is that bilateral negotiations are going on, but still the conflict remains to be the same all over. Okay. So India and other nations. So India Bangladesh relation, how is it? So Ganga and Brahmaputra from India goes to Bangladesh. All right. There is issue of illegal migration. Okay, because people from Bangladesh enters into India illegally. They support anti-India fundamental groups. Okay. So transit. So what is there? Like this is Indian territory. This is then Bangladesh, and this is northeast. We want an access from here to our northeast passing from Bangladesh, but they are very much reluctant to give this access. They don't want us to give this access because that will reduce our journey time, because here like this we have to enter to northeast. Okay, but they are very much reluctant. Natural gas export and trade disputes are there. Boundary and enclave disputes are almost resolved, but still there. Okay, Bangladesh alleges India to be a regional bully. Bangladesh alleges that India bullies other countries in South Asia. Okay, there is a high trade imbalance. We export much to Bangladesh, but are not able to import much from Bangladesh. All right, trade imbalance is there. They basically alleges India that we interfere in the Chittagong hill tracts. Okay, don't know how. Improved economic relations. So yes, in the last 20 or 30 years, relations have been improved. Okay, Bangladesh is a very much part of India's Act East policy. Okay, we cooperate on disaster management and environment. And in 2015, see what was happening was there were certain area inside India which belonged to Pakistan, and there were many areas in Bangladesh which belonged to India. Those were called as enclaves, a particular territory encircled by any other foreign state. So those enclaves, we basically held a enclave exchange agreement with Bangladesh, and by which those enclaves, the enclave issue is almost settled. With Nepal, we have a very special relation. We have almost a very special relation with Nepal, because such relation is hardly seen in any part of the world until unless it is European Union. The border is open. Anyone can go and basically come from that border. Okay, that's a very free border. But still, we have so many trade disputes. Uh, Nepal, what it do? Nepal basically sometimes go close to China. We don't want this, so we have to basically give them some lollipop kind of things. Okay, so that, okay, please, small brother, don't go to China, just come to us, we don't want you to go to there. Okay, so these things happens. Okay, now there is a presence of anti-Indian element also there in Nepal, and we very much concerned with the Maoist and the Naxalite movement that is going on in Nepal. Nepal basically says that India interfere with their internal dispute. Okay, we control their waterway and hydropower, and we don't provide them access to the ocean because that's a landlocked country. All right. So these things goes on. These cooperation, scientific cooperation, water sharing, resource agreement, trade, hydropower. These cooperation are there. Almost the relation with of India and Nepal are almost peaceful and stable. All right. With regards to India and Sri Lanka relation, what is there is, so the main issue is the ethnic conflict, which you very well know. Okay, India's role is that we intervened in Sri Lanka to settle that dispute in 1987, but later on we adopted a policy of disengagement. We have a free trade agreement. After tsunami that happened in Sri Lanka, we assisted them. Okay, talking about Bhutan, very, very good and cordial and conflict free. No conflict at all between India and Bhutan. We share basically, we helped Bhutan also in removing the insurgents there, and we are a major supplier of hydroelectricity to them and a largest source of developmental aid. Okay, for Maldives also, our relation is friendly enough. Sometimes there the government or anti-India government comes, but almost the issues are resolved only. Okay. In 1988, India intervened militarily to stop a coup attempt there. Okay. So after that, the integration with Indian government intensified in Maldives. Okay. Regional perception and challenge is that every other country in South Asia see India as a dominant regional power, and they worries about, so India basically is a kind of a shares a big brother relation in South Asia. Okay, so the major thing is that any political instability happening in any country in South Asia disturbs us. We do not want that any such disturbance happens there. Okay, so we influence of external power in South Asia, and yes, we don't basically we don't want to tolerate in the influence of any of whether it be China or USA in our backyard. South Asia is India's backyard, and we cannot tolerate any disturbance in our backyard. All right. So we want that any sort of such disturbance does not exist there. All right. So for that, we basically do whatever we can. All right. So this is overall assessment. So there is a greater need for more cooperation there. SARC is there. SARC is basically a South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation that was established in 1985. It's a multilateral forum for regional cooperation. Okay, SARC can be a very good organization to basically intensify the cooperation in South Asia. Okay, so South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. Once SAFTA was signed in 2004, that is South Asian Free Trade Agreement. By this agreement, several countries of South Asia came together, okay, to reduce the taxes on import and export. It was implemented on 1st January 2006. So it creates a South Asian free trade zone, okay. But some or many countries alleges India that India plays a major influence in SAFTA. India don't want any other country to emerge. All right, so these many influences are there or concerns are there. Pakistan India peace efforts are there. There are, I told you about CBM, confidence building measures are there. We are talking deliberately, but how can talk happen with terrorism? Talk and terrorism together cannot go on. All right. So high level summits and dialogues are there. We have opened, but Atal Bihari Vajpayee took a bus from Punjab to Lahore. Okay, but despite of all these things, no as such improvement was happening. All right, they took a bus from India as a part of diplomacy to Lahore, but in return they gave us Kargil war. Okay, so confidence building measures are there, but the things are not going well. Role of external power here, non-regional power exerts a lot of influence. China in the recent time has made a greater influence on the countries of South Asia. China Pakistan strategic partnership is a very big concern for India. US has also, after the Cold War, involved a lot with South Asian countries. Basically, between the India and Pakistan relation, US is a very big factor. All right, many economic reforms and liberalization has expanded the US engagement, but there is a presence, heavy presence of South Asian diaspora. Okay, so it strengthens the US interest in South Asia. So US plays a greater role, and we are very much apprehensive of that influence of any world power in the politics of South Asia. We don't want such thing to happen. Okay, so here basically the region's future depends primarily on the people and the government of South Asia. Okay, the conflict prone region may be there, but our task, and there must be more integration of the people to people contact in term to reduce any such conflict. All right, so this was these chapters. Obviously I have just given you a brief detail of all these relations. Majorly it will be covered in your international relation chapter. All right, so that will be in the GS paper 2. So this is just a very brief intro. Okay, and your task would be to read these chapters. All right, so you will have to read these chapters, this PDF. All right, and after reading this PDF, just have an overview of it. All right, so from my understanding, this batch is completed. All right, and your task is basically to ask me by mail. You can ask me any question whatsoever be. Okay, and if you face any problem in kind like covering your polity, okay, then you can always get in touch with me. All right, so just all the best. All right, this is what I can say. Any concern, any problem, anything you would like to say?
So could you tell your mail again?
Amit Singh Rana.
At
You are
Plutus.
asking name, na? Okay.
Yes. Mail.
Mail is, I don't think whether we can share the mail or not. Let me just ask. Just let me ask.
But the CSI teachers have shared their mail.
Just let me just ask. I'm writing it. Just note it down. I'm not able to scroll it. Just write AMIT Amit Plutus IAS @gmail.com. Amit Plutus IAS @gmail.com.
Sir, and I also have a doubt.
Yes.
Could you tell the difference between constitutional and statutory bodies and how to identify which is what?
See, if any body is created by an act of parliament or state legislature, if any body is created by an act, if the act is first passed in the lawmaking body, then the body is created, then it is called as statutory body. Statute means a law making body. But for the body, if any article is mentioned in the constitution and the body is created by the constitution itself, then it is called as constitutional body.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, also writs and types.
Writs
Writ
and rights.
and the
See,
types.
types. Okay. So there are several types of the writs. Okay. Writ means if, for example, your fundamental right is violated, and basically for the reinstatement of the fundamental right, the order that is issued by the court, eh, if Supreme Court under Article 32 and High Courts under Article 226, it is called as writ. Okay. Now there are certainly five types of writs: habeas corpus, mandamus, quo warranto, certiorari, and prohibitionary. All right. So, for example, habeas corpus. It means if any person has basically done something wrong, to bring that person here in the court, asking them. Certiorari and prohibitionary are the types of writs that basically prohibit the lower court from passing any order if they are going beyond their jurisdiction. All right. So certiorari, that means to certify, है ना? It will certify whether like how, who gave you the power and how you basically derived the power to pass this order. Okay. So like this, there are five types of writs. Okay. So quo warranto is basically there. So quo warranto is basically asked, like is passed in order to basically ask the, if for example there is a public office, okay, and that public office is basically occupied by a person which he think, which the person who is filing the petition thinks that is not should be occupied by that person, so in that case this writ will be issued. So these are basically different types of writs and their features. All right. So this is basically writ. Okay. And the order that is basically issued by the Supreme Court or High Court specifically to reinstate the fundamental right of the people, those orders or those basically orders are called as writs. All right.
So what happens like if under writ, if a court orders a particular body to take certain action,
Yes, it
like
can ask someone to come to the court. It can ask someone to, it can ask the lower court from stopping from giving the judgment and passing on the case towards it. It can basically ask someone or anyone to do particular thing in order to reinstate the fundamental right of the person who
no,
has
so
been
if it is
deprived of the right.
like for example, if it is between me and another company, and the company violated my fundamental right, and the Supreme
No, no,
Court.
no, not because see, this will not be applicable to the company, okay? Because the fundamental rights, except Article 17, okay, except Article 17 and Article 24. So those writs, those fundamental rights are only against the state. Okay, when you will read the lines of the bare act of the fundamental right, those fundamental rights are that state shall not. Okay, and the definition of the state is written in Article 12 of Indian Constitution. And in Article 12 of the Indian Constitution, state means either the union government, the state government, parliament, state legislature, local bodies, and any body that is created as a part of uh, the government only, is behalf on the behalf of government. So
Yes,
the state is that. Okay.
yes, sir. Like, yeah, uh, a body created by the government versus me, and that body denies me one of my fundamental right, and the Supreme Court mandates an action, like probably reinstate or like take certain action X Y Z, but the body does not do that. What, like,
It will order the police to take action against that. It will basically take any action. If the court has like all the powers, it can take any action. It can instruct any other body to basically act upon it.
okay,
Any action can be ordered by the court.
okay,
Constitution has actually given, I would say, unlimited power to the Supreme Court. It can do anything whatever it wants. Practically if talking. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Tell me.
No, sir, not from my side.
From yours. Even if such any other question related to polity, governance, IR, or any other thing is there, you can just mail me. Okay. All
So,
right.
and the test feedback.
Have you shared the test?
Yes, sir.
I will ask them to share it with me. Okay. I haven't received it.
Okay, okay, okay.
All right. We'll be sharing with you the feedback. All right.
Through email or like how? Is this the last class?
Yes, this is the last class of polity. But if I get something like to talk with you, I will connect with you. All right. For sharing the feedback of the test. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So for NCRT, I don't think more time must be invested on this. Okay. For NCRT, only basic things were there for which I have already taught. Like apart from that, all the things in detail will be covered in the polity classes. All right.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Good luck. Bye bye.
Okay, so thank you, sir. It was
Welcome. Bye bye.